The Supreme Court just issued a major ruling in connection with Tuesday's election for the United States presidency. The Supreme Court will not prevent Pennsylvanians from casting a provisional ballot at the polls if they previously mailed back a defective ballot that got tossed out. This is a significant voting rights victory, as Mark Joseph Stern puts it. There's no dissent, but there is a statement from Alito. I want to read this entire decision. It's brief, what Alito says. It's important, but Harry, I said a lot of words right there.
Yeah.
You break it all down. What the hell am I talking about? Why
is
this important? But first, let me remind everybody, Harry Litman, Talking Feds YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Talking Feds YouTube channel. That's where I get my legal news from. Harry.
All right. So thanks, Ben. First, this is the week where we've been watching what will the Supreme Court do in emergency applications. For instance, in Virginia, it ruled for Republicans. Most others it's passed on. This was the biggest issue pending out there. What happened is in Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, and there was a little bit of back and forth before it got to there, said, hey, here's what a provisional ballot is for. If somebody mails, say, a ballot and they forget the safety envelope or do something wrong, they can cast a provisional ballot on Tuesday. And then if it's found that their other ballot is defective, the provisional ballot counts. What they basically said in terms of state law was that there isn't really a ballot out there until a valid one has been cast. Therefore, if there's a flaw in the previous one, the provisional counts. Now, this was a really hard-fought battle by Republicans, and the statement that you're going to read to us, Ben, is kind of important as a harbinger of possible things to come. You would think that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court saying under state law provisional ballots are okay would be the end of the matter. Why should the U.S. Supreme Court get involved at all? And the statement that you're going to read tells us why. Because, and this basically comes from, hold your breath, hold your nose, Bush v. Gore in 2000. They cite the case saying, here's what Pennsylvania Republicans are talking about, Moore v. Harper, the so-called independent state legislature theory, which we don't have to unpack completely now, but is just a way that Republicans have used to put their arms in state law rulings and say, if a state court has gone so off the reservation, how far off, we have no idea, but so far off the reservation, it can be a federal issue based on a provision in Article 1, and we can mess with it. So Alito, Gorsuch, and Thomas making that statement, it's a way of saying, they say first, we can't do anything now. We're a few days from the election. This only concerns 2 voters from one county. It wouldn't do anything anyway. The impact is next to nothing. So why don't they just keep their powder dry and shut up? Well, that's the real question, because instead of doing that, they do this statement. They don't endorse Moore versus Harper here, but they say this is what the Republicans are arguing. It's just a way of putting in a little bookmark for things that could happen after the election, where the Republicans, and these are the 3 most conservative on the court, want to use this pretty discredited theory to overturn state law rulings based only on state law, with this little notion that under Moore v. Harper, if a state court goes way off the state law reservation, they can come in. So in that sense, it's eyebrow raising, even though Alito, Gorsuch, and Thomas are not dissenting here, but they're just making a point of saying, here's what's out there, but practically speaking, not enough here to worry about. So the bottom line here, Ben, is, this was the last big one out there. And I think we are going to come now to Tuesday without any really significant, in practical terms, in numbers of voters, sort of upsetting of the apple cart. The things have held pretty well, and the courts have pretty much rejected crazy Republican theories. And I think that's where the state of play will be coming Tuesday.
Rejected crazy Republican theories but
Timeline.
preserve the right to bring them after in the event there are shenanigans that potentially provide a path for those listening on audio by the slimmest of slim margins. If there's a way to do some sort of tie go to the runner, and we're talking once again a la 2000 about 400 hanging chads and things are up in dispute, you have these right-wing extremists on the court saying, look, we can't shed our credibility yet right now, but we're doing a little marker. We're planting a seed that if we're in an Al Gore, George W. Bush situation, we're not suggesting that we've given up on this crazy theory. It's why it's so great to listen to your analysis right there, because it lets people know the game behind the game. You know, one can look at a scorecard or look at the final score, whether it's a baseball game or a football game, but you really have to know, wait a minute, were errors made? Which batters were there? How did the coach maneuver the players? You know, what's going on in these different situations to really understand how that score happened. And you're really giving us insight into that game behind the game right there. And so, to your point, what the Supreme Court's doing here is they're like, look, we can't look crazy right now. Like, it's almost like Trump. You give Trump an inch, I always like to say he takes your life. You can't give him anything. And so Trump's trying to have them just look like crazy maniacs right now. And they're kind of saying, dude, not right freaking now. We may get your back if this thing is close. We ain't doing that right now. We have to preserve our credibility. So yes, it is a win for voting rights, but it's also lets you into perhaps a little mindset. You know, for me, Harry, when we've always talked about the 2020 election, the most frustrating thing for me about it is that it was not ever close. And so for me, the audacity of the claims where Trump got destroyed in the Electoral College and lost big in multiple swing states where there was no path, and it was this really throw mud at the wall and kind of see what sticks. This was not a normal voting rights type of case where people in this area practice, which are always on the margins, and it's surgical, and it's dealing with anywhere from sometimes there's 1 or 2 votes. Sometimes you're in the 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 vote range. But that's where these experts in voting rights laws, right, are usually litigating, not the 55,000, 60,000, 100,000 cases, and certainly not when you've got, you know, states 144,000, 200,000, you know, in all of these different swing states that Biden kind of took all of them. So anyway, that's as I reflect on it. You give a good summary of it, Harry, so I could read you, you know, the more V. Harper language, but you explained it well there. I don't need to bore people by literally reading the thing, but what else do you want to say to reflect on that and what people should be looking at going forward?
Yeah, and so I'll just say to your point, Ben, you talk about, you know, I think Pennsylvania, which is going to be ground zero on Tuesday, was like 80,000 votes last time. There are a couple ways that Trump, whose language and body language certainly has changed in the last couple of days, and starting from, you know, we're going to win to this is being rigged and we're ready to fight. Couple ways that they can try to make trouble. One would be a recount, but keep in mind, there's never been a successful recount of even as much as 1,000 votes. And fewer than 1,000 individual state is a negligible sliver. And unless they start there, no real purchase. So what's left will be some kind of theory exactly like this in Pennsylvania. There's going to be the big time from when votes are finished counting, and I'll stick with Pennsylvania, my home state, because it seems the most important. That actually could be Wednesday or Thursday in Pennsylvania. They don't count the mail-in ballots until after. But at that point, in that stretch of about 30 days till December 11th, that's where you'll see lawsuits saying crap like this. And you'll see them in Pennsylvania. If this lawsuit, as you say, if they kept their powder dry and done it later, they would be saying, oh, they let in all these things by provisional ballots. And they would fight that first in Pennsylvania. and then proceed eventually, when all hope is lost, the last refuge of scoundrels will be the federal law idea. Come on in, U.S. Supreme Court, because of Moore v. Harper and the independent state legislature theory. As we look at it, and there are phalanxes of lawyers on all sides, et cetera, it's hard to anticipate where they might be going. You're always thinking about the last war, but it seems to me that the barricades are really pretty deep and pretty well staffed. And I'm going to be lawyerly at the end here, with saying something and then taking it back. But I think there's reason to be reasonably sanguine that they can't pull through the courts some kind of legal insurrection, except, and here's my taking it back. Remember, it only takes one county to really mess with things. Just today, Trump filed a lawsuit against CBS, a ridiculous lawsuit, or yesterday. But where did he file it? Northern District of Texas, in front of one Matt Kaczmarek, the same handpicked judge who invalidated mifepristone. In other words, I think things are pretty good, but it just takes one county to delay, or one judge to go off the reservation, and you're in this compressed time period of the election. So we're going to have to hold our breath. But I think that the chances of some kind of extra legal reversal from what seems to be the case, say next Wednesday, Thursday, I think Tuesday is pretty optimistic, is likely to hold.
Yeah, you see Trump's strategy, though, here, and you can kind of read the tea leaves for where the desperation is and where the attack is. So you see Trump's strategies basically signaling they think they're going to lose, in my view, Michigan and Wisconsin. They're hoping to hold North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and hopefully, I don't hope this is what they're thinking, that they can take Nevada, so that it comes to a very, very tight race where Pennsylvania is the deciding. And
it's so true. They call it the blue wall. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say they call it the blue wall because Pennsylvania has hung with Michigan and Wisconsin since 1992, including when Trump won in 2016. And they are really looking to peel off one of those. And if they can, and Pennsylvania's right now the closest for Trump in the polls. And if you do the numbers, if he wins Pennsylvania, she has theoretical ways to win, but man, it's way uphill. On the other hand, if she holds the blue wall, and for sure, if she manages an upset victory in North Carolina, it's all over but the shouting. Of course, he'll do a lot of shouting.
Right, but see, I'm thinking that their strategy may even be, look, even if she wins by a smaller margin than, say, Biden did, and it's 40,000 votes, or 50,000 votes, I think they're thinking, look at what we were able to do when we lost all of these swing states, and we lost all of them, and look what we established there. So then they go in with their cockamamie theories about this voter and this scheme in this county. And you notice they're already saying that. Look at this person in Bucks County. They did this. Right. Look at this person here. So they're setting the contours for targeting hard Pennsylvania. But like the reason that Harry and I say this is to also let you know that if Harry and I know this, one, perhaps others don't, and we're getting the message out. But the reality is that knowledge is power. And so when you are trying to diagnose the ailment, it's best not to ignore the symptoms and let them get progressively worse. It is important to go, okay, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Here's what we do. Here's what we do. And that's the exercise we all just engaged in by our analysis of that Supreme Court ruling. So I ask all of you, if you like this analysis, go subscribe to the Talking Feds YouTube channel. It's simple. Subscribe now. Let's get the Talking Feds YouTube channel 500,000 subscribers. Let's get them there. Harry, you and I will be chatting, I'm sure, after the election. I I have a feeling that regardless of the positivity I feel about the election, Trump's going to be filing a lot of
There'll
crap.
be a thing or two to discuss, I would
There's going
imagine.
to be I think these channels progress very on the legal side after,
Right.
as well, with all of the shenanigans that are going to be pulled. But I believe law and order will prevail. Democracy is going to prevail. But do your work, everybody, for real. You actually have the opportunity to be the difference maker. Help someone go to the polls, drive somebody, do whatever, you do your part, and that's all you can do. So we leave it all there on the field. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Have a good one. Thanks, Harry.
Thanks, Ben.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram at MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.